Hello, welcome to the show once again. My name is Mike Turpin, and we're going to kick it off this way. Most of the time I have a script and I read the script and I go through the script and all that. I just don't. I just wanted to go kind of raw this time. I really wanted to come from an emotional perspective and just see how it happens, right? So, with that said, welcome to the show. We have a 2 week span here, almost a 2 week span, where we're doing nothing but saluting the veterans, right? I really want to be raw and natural with talking to these guys because it's important that people understand that perspective. Everyone, hey, salute the veterans. Hey, I appreciate the veterans. Hey, I love them, and I love that. I'll give whatever I can to them. Um, One of the most depressing things when you hear, not depressing, but I shouldn't use depressing. Disappointing when I'm talking to people, and I know it's not just me; it's just veterans in general. When you come across somebody who's trying to be respectful, and they say, "Oh, you were a Marine. You were in North Carolina. Do you know my nephew Jerry?" Like, there's there's about 150,000 active duty Marines at any given time, and you're asking me if I know one guy. You got to be at least a little bit more specific than that. Where was he? What did he do? Did he have a mole in the front of his face or something of the sort? Anyway, so this isn't for veterans. It's for everyone. Just have a chuckle, have a laugh, and see the softer side of of us whenever we get out and we move on and try to move on with our lives. You might actually learn something, and I know I'll learn a lot about everyone that we have on the show. We have we had Brandon on yesterday, fascinating individual, very successful, and he has the absolute heart of gold. I'll give you the shirt off his back, and that's most of us in general. We have scheduled a young lady. I shouldn't say, yeah, she young lady. Young lady. She was married to one of our buddies that died, and she's going to be on the show. She's going to give her story. She's a fascinating lady, very very humble and very nice lady. She's an absolute gem, Mrs. Bonnie Miner. We're going to have her on the show, and we're gonna have just a bunch of guys, a bunch of individuals that are just absolutely genuine people. And then what I really want you to walk away with with the show, you go through Veterans Day and you come across veterans and this and that. I really want you to really think of the people that, when you see the sign and it says, salute to veterans, or, I support veterans, or the veteran, military discount is this and that. Don't just roll your eyes, because it has a lasting effect on a lot of people. A lot of people that selflessly gave everything for the handicap, for the African American community, for the autistic community, for the people that can't fight for themselves. Ultimately, we went to every aspect of the globe, and we not only protected, but we fought for the people that can't fight for themselves. And that's what we were taught to do. And a lot of us have that same mentality here in the real world, when we got out, and we tackle every day the hurdles that it takes to mentally get over those humps. I'm going to give you a prime example. So when I go to work every day, I have a level of expectation of what I expect for myself. I know that I should work at least 8 hours a day. 8 hours, a very hard 8 hours a day. If I am asked 3 days of the week to work 12 or 16 or even 20 hours in a day, I'll do it. I know that I have to, I'm responsible to somebody. I'm responsible to accomplish the mission. If I have to sacrifice a little bit of my time, which I will get compensated for, unlike the military where we work over 100 hours a week and you still get paid. The guys in the administrative shops, they get paid the same as we did, but we did far more work than they did. I'll fight you to the death. But you know, we anyway. Back to the job, right? So I didn't get sidetracked. It happens a lot. So when we work, and I shouldn't say we, when I work, I have my level of expectation. I will give to the job what blood, sweat, and tears. I'll give it all. I'll give it my all. When I'm getting in my older years, I'd say in the late 30s, early 40s, I'm throttling off of giving, that extra 120% to the job, and I'm putting that energy into my daughter and my son and my spouse, because I'm growing up and I'm maturing. I'm starting to realize that is a lot more important than my job, that they will at a moment's notice replace me. I make it that I'm irreplaceable, but at the end of the day, nobody's irreplaceable. So I really want everybody watching to understand, to just watch, enjoy the show. We have the midterms coming up next week, in a few days, I should say. So, we're going to talk about it and touch up on it a little bit, but don't get too bent out of shape. The important thing I want everyone to get out of this campaign is a new respect, or just a different expectation for what the military guys go through. Not only when they're in, but when they get out. And that's really what it is. And we're going to have a lot of different guys on, a lot of different individuals that have a completely different story from one another. We have an individual coming on today, Mr. Aubrey Rogers. The guy, super smart kid. Oh my gosh. So he was my student for a while. For about 3-4 months, he was my student. And super smart kid, straight out of high school. Had some problems at his home life, and then he joined the Marine Corps, as a large percentage of individuals that end up joining the Marine Corps do. And he didn't exactly flourish because he was very coddled, but the individual, very, very smart kid, very smart, but he just had difficulty with his social connections sometimes. But absolutely brilliant kid, and he's really turned his life around. And I want you to see the absolute rawness of what the Marine Corps can do, or the United States military in general, when they break us down shotgun style, and they say they build us back up, but a lot of the times, especially in the Marine Corps will eat their young. That's how the Marine Corps is, and it's the tough that survive. And it's I'm not saying it's right, because just like most guys that the Marine Corps do chew up and spit out. It beat me up pretty good. Not only physically but mentally. I walked out a very bitter individual, but most importantly, I walked out with a lot of really amazing friendships. And I learned a good work ethic, and a bunch of individuals that would die for me, and that I would die for as well. Kind of transition a little bit. The military in general, and this is something to be very, very proud of. The United States military in general has a very long history. The United States Marine Corps has even longer history. Back in 1775, that's when the Marine Corps officially came alive, in a tavern in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And you got to think, all the wars and all the just horrible, nasty BS that's happened since 1775, and the Marines have been around, the first to fight, ever since then. And when you see and talk to a Marine, the Army guys, they say, oh yeah, I was once a soldier. The Air Force guys, they say they were once in the Air Force, or airmen. And the Navy, of course, they pride themselves in being seamen. the Marines are always Marines, no matter what. And it's a pride. It's that choking in your throat that you get when you get kind of emotional. And from a Marine's perspective, and the two things that mean the most to us are the flag and the national anthem, and how the flag and the national anthem are what embodies and kind of connects us all no matter what. So when individuals want to use when we should be taking a few seconds and appreciating the flag and the national anthem, we should be appreciating it because that's the one time when all of us are 100% equal. There are no entrepreneurs. There are no young kids with autistic problems. There are no handicapped individuals. There are no boys. There are no girls. There is no political fighting or infighting. Their husbands and wives are getting along. It's just absolute utopia. In that moment when the national anthem is playing, it's the one time that we all have something in common. It's the one time that we put aside our differences and we love and appreciate each other. And when individuals take that time to make a statement, you have to, let me put a pin in it. I am very empathetic to the point that they're trying to make. Colin Kaepernick, I completely understand what he's trying to say. I didn't agree with it, but I respect it, and that should be respected, right? I respect that. He should respect my opinion. And that's the best part about the First Amendment, by the way. So I just think that in the one time that we have to be carefree, together in such an intangible time, and we're using that as a platform to hate one another, then all you're doing is you're trying to divide into something that inherently is meant to never be divided. And that's what made us all upset, right? So, with that said, I'll get off my soapbox. I'll get out in front of you. We got a good show today. Got Aubrey on. Got some commercials rolling in. I hope you guys like the new intro and the new exit. And got the midterms coming up November 2nd. And let's keep it coming. We'll roll to commercial. Once again, can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys.
Who is it? Somebody picked the wrong girl.
All right, there, weekly rounders. Appreciate second day coming in on saluting 11 veterans on 11 days here coming into Veterans Day. All right, so I have a good friend of mine, Mr. Aubrey Rogers, served with him in the Marine Corps. Aubrey, tell the weekly rounders a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Aubrey Rogers. I go by AJ, but Aubrey's fine as well. From Washington State. I joined the Marine Corps in 2007 as a Harrier avionics technician. I was in for about 3 years, went right out of high school. It was going to be my career, but had some mishaps, some slips, made some bad choices.
Happens to the best of us.
Detail about that, but I was removed, and from there continued on to try to live my life. It didn't go the best way I could, but I'm doing great now. Everything happens for a reason. You don't realize that in the moment, but in hindsight, when you look back, I wouldn't be where I am now with the morality and integrity and compassion for others, as I never would have thought I would be the person I am today. From what happened back then, it was shocking. It was I felt completely disrespected, used, abused, just thrown away like trash. But if that never happened, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I appreciate you, Michael, for letting me be on your show. I actually wanted to do my own podcast as well with recovery and self-motivation, self-confidence, just building yourself up to be the best person you can be.
I tell you, and the Marine Corps is a tickled beast, because if you are an individual and just kind of like you came in and you were a little you were a very smart kid, a very smart young individual, but what you lacked was a lot of life experience. And unfortunately, the Marine Corps will eat their young, so, and it's sad, but it happens sometimes. And even be perfectly honest with you, some of the best Marines are ones eaten and spitting out. And even I'm not gonna lie, I had a really bad time in the Marine Corps, towards the end of my term, because I got surrounded by a bunch of people that was politically driven, and they did the best that they could to try to ruin me also. So you can't take anything personal, especially in the Marine Corps, and you just gotta kind of live and learn and take what you learn in the Marine Corps and put it into the civilian world, and not take anybody's crap. But
yeah, definitely. I definitely understand what you're saying. How do I say this? I was young. I didn't have the best childhood growing up. My parents split when I was 9. My dad was around for a couple of years and moved back away to California, so he wasn't in my life very often. I saw him in the summers, but I didn't have that father figure around, or that ideal father that you need to be the best possible man you can be by the time you graduate high school. And that cliche family,
yeah,
where it's like everything's so perfect and everyone expects you to be that person, but nobody. I mean, 1% of the 1% of families have that real strong family connection where they have a great mother, a great father, a great family, and everything is just perfect. But that's just
it's one thing that we have in this country that is lacking, right? And it's the social structure that's kind of shattering at the moment, where we have this problem within the country that that uh, that does not eliminates one of the parents where a single parents are raising children, and ultimately that is the reason why we have this huge fracture
Yeah.
throughout our whole entire United States. We don't have the two parents, one staying at home, the other one working. We don't really have that anymore, and that ultimately, I mean, we have to have two incomes for 90% of the homes throughout the whole entire country. And it's getting to the point now,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because the way we voted in the last 3 years has given us, or has put us in a position where we have to have three incomes to have a household and raise children now, which is mind blowing, and it takes away from the children and the one-on-one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
for sure. But yeah, like I mean, I've been told I'm very smart. I don't like bragging that I'm super smart because it makes me sound like stuck up. But I'm a pretty smart guy. But I didn't have that self control. I didn't have the confidence, and like I didn't grow up in the best of environments either. Like like I needed to feel loved. I needed friends, so I found people that weren't the best. Got into drugs even before I went to the Marines. It was only weed at the time, but then I got to the Marines, and the whole drinking thing was like rite of passage. So drinking became huge, and then at some point I found out about spice, and kind of just went downhill from there. Like my goal was to be a pilot. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to retire from the Marines. It was funny. The only reason why I joined the Marines was because someone told me I couldn't make it. I was
no,
at lunch.
same way, man. I was the
Yeah,
same
I was
way.
at lunch one day, and we were talking about the Navy SEALs, and the Marine recruiter was there, and he's like, "We know Marine Recon's better, right?" And we got into a little debate about that, and started going to pulley functions on the weekends, and then all of a sudden I found out I joined. I was originally going to join the Army to be a combat engineer, but my dad wouldn't sign off because I wasn't 18 yet, so he had to have his permission. But
See, you're right. Everything does happen for a reason,
yeah,
and that was the best. That was the best choice because
but I met
that
some
was just a mess.
amazing people in the Marines. I mean, like you, uh, Gunnery Sergeant Pryor, Gunnery Sergeant Romero. Like
Oh yeah,
Joe
prior
was
prior
awesome.
prior and Romero both are
And I
are
still
good
talk to
people.
Pryor every once in a while. His wife too, Sarah Carlson. She was retired, but she was a civilian that worked with me in the expediter field.
Carlson.
Um,
Yep, yep. I
but
remember
like
Carlson.
I got some great skills, and it gave me a lot of confidence, made me believe in myself. Because when I got to boot camp day one, I was like, "What did I just do?"
Rogers, when you got to me at the schoolhouse, everyone knew that we see this kid with amazing potential, a super smart kid, but he lacks number one, you're right, the confidence, and number two, just the life skills to make the right decisions. When push comes to shove, sometimes you just have to you have to have been hit over the head a few times to know which way you want to go. You know what? We could talk about all the stupid stuff that we did,
Yeah.
for time on end here. All right, man. So what are you doing now?
Right now, I work for a place called Pallet Shelter. Got the logo right here. It's
Thanks.
a company. What we do is we build homeless shelters, and we deploy them all over the U.S. Um, I got kicked out of the Marines for drugs. I got into drugs after the Marines, pretty bad. I was on heroin and meth for about 7 or 8 years, and at one point, it came sooner for me than others. But at just one point, I was like, I'm either gonna put a gun in my mouth or I'm gonna get clean, and I don't want to die, but like I couldn't see my life getting better at that point, and I couldn't see recovery being a thing. I tried it before, but it was only just to keep a job. It wasn't for me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So I got into recovery. I moved away from where I was at. I was clean for about a year, and then this place called Pallet Shelter I found out about, and like we help people that are homeless, whether they're homeless because of drug addiction or homeless because of how high prices are these days. But I love helping people more so than I ever have before. When I went to the Marines, I was more about just me, and now I'm more about I have to better myself so that way I can help others. If I don't better myself now, I can't help people. And I did electrical work for about 3 years after the Marines too. I could be making 40, 50, $60 an hour if I would to go keep pursuing that. But this place I work at, like it's like no other place I've ever worked at. Like I work around people that are also addicts in recovery, felons that are just out of prison. Like the people I relate with the most. Like in any other job before that, I was the person that was alienated because of who I was. Even if I was clean or not, like, oh, he did drugs before. Like, you just felt that alienation. You felt
Absolutely,
that
man.
complete separation, and you didn't feel like you were welcome or wanted or needed at the companies I worked at before. So you wouldn't open up as much here. I mean, on breaks, we talk about stuff that happened in prison. I didn't go to prison personally, but a bunch of other people did. We talk about, our drug stories, and it's a family. It's like the closest family I've ever had, more so than my own family. It feels. I mean, it's
Bro, don't. So I'm going to tell you a story, right? So when I got out of the Marine Corps in 2010, I got a job down in Texas in the oil field, and I was on a lease that we had. It was a 200,000, I think 250,000 acre lease. And sitting in a trailer one day, and I got poached by BP. So I'm down in Mexico somewhere working. And the production manager walks into my trailer, and he's like, "You'll never guess how much oil we made yesterday." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know how much." I was like 30, I don't know, 33, 34 at the time. And I didn't really fully understand money. And he's like, "Yeah, this lease made $1.5 million in oil just yesterday, just this lease, and we had three of them." And I'm thinking, why am I making all this money for this guy? Why don't I do it myself? Anyway, make a long story short, ended up with 5 wells of my own. When oil hit 22, $24 a barrel, I had all the friends that I had and all the people that were in my back pocket and all that. I had no friends, right? Nobody was there to help me. Nobody was there to this and that. I had about 300,000 of my own dollars in the company. I was making about $700 a month, working about 90 hours a week. And my wife called me one day and she's like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this for nothing, for peanuts?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." So we packed up, we moved back to Western New York because my son is autistic, and we wanted to get him better services that we weren't getting in Texas. So I still had the oil company, this and that, right? And make a long story short, once again, I had a guy went to my wells, and he poured oil on the casing heads and reported it to the Railroad Commission. So, and I still have it today. I still have all 5 fines, $250,000 each, from Attorney General Ken Paxton. You see him a lot on the news nowadays. I've physically talked to the guy on the phone, and so I had $250,000 for all 5 wells. So I owed the state of Texas $1.25 million, right? And so I didn't know what to do. So once again, my son is autistic, and he has no vocabulary, and I'm like, I have to end it. I have no other choice to do. I don't have any choice. So it was the day I was gonna put a bullet in my head, and down in the basement, and I got the gun ready, and I'm about to pull the trigger. And my son walks down, and remember, he's autistic. He doesn't speak. And he comes up to me and he says, "I love you, Daddy." And I tell you what, holy smokes. Went to the VA next day, changed my life, because I realized that you have a lot to live for, no matter how horrible it could be, material stuff aside, and this and that. So, Rogers, you came a long way. You made a lot of really good decisions, and you got your life turned around. And I tell you what, that's what this show is all about. People like you setting the example.
Yeah, and this is only the beginning too. Like, I mean, like in recovery, at meetings all the time, like you have people with 10, 15, 20 years of clean time, and like they'll still say, like, I know absolutely nothing, because we never are fully recovered, whether it's from mental issues or drugs. There's always room to grow, learn, and better yourself. So like I'm I'm not doing this just for me anymore. Like I live in a clean and sober house primarily because of the cost of rent these days. Up here it's about $1,500 just for a studio. Like, and that's even hard to get. And I pay 700 here now. It's great. It's awesome. I live in a specific type of clean and sober house so I can keep my dog Maddie. I lived in Oxford before that, and it changed my life.
Good for you.
I really advocate for Oxford. If anyone out there is struggling with drug addiction, go to treatment. Get yourself clean. It's gonna suck the first 96 months, 90 days, 6 months, or maybe even a year. But it's supposed to suck. What's hard is worth it. What's easy is not. Like you have to persevere in order to like feel gratitude for what you receive from recovery. Like getting handouts and everything so easily given, you don't value it. Like I value my recovery more than anything, and like I value my life much more than I ever have before. Like I thought I was some badass in the Marines just because I had the title Marine automatically gave me respect and people had to give me respect. So like I would act that certain way, but really I didn't believe in myself. It was just the title that gave me that confidence.
Yeah,
But you take
it's a
the title
false sense of
away,
confidence.
yeah,
I
you take the
completely
title
agree.
away and I'm just me again. So it like I said, I want to start my own podcast. I've been looking into it. You know, money's been hard lately, so I can't just go out and spend thousands of dollars on equipment. I'm getting there, but I'm really glad you let me on the show so I can get at least some sort of experience of how this works.
Absolutely, man. And we're gonna stay in contact, and I'm gonna give you some coaching, and we'll get you figured out. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
for
So,
sure.
um, so getting off, we can sit here and we can talk boohoo all day. It's great to see you. I can't tell you that enough. It's great to see you doing good
Hey, you
things
too, man.
every
Really,
time. Every time the crew sees you online, and the usual guys that truly care about you. We always ask about you, see how you're doing, and this and that. Number one, you need to get the F out of Washington State. Like I have a 3 acre, 2,900 square foot house on 3 acres with a 3,000 square foot barn. I pay $2,500 a month in mortgage. So, like you need to get the hell out of Washington, man. That
I
place
think
sucks.
houses up here are up to like $800,000 for a 3 bedroom rambler. It's insane.
That's insane, dude. And that's only going to get worse, brother. This inflation's no joke. It's well over, realistically, it's well over 10%, and it's going to be brutal here in the next year and a half. We've spent
Yeah,
we've
I know.
we've we've inflated our currency so much. But speaking of, we got the midterms coming around, especially in Washington. There's a doozy. In the Washington area, California, there's a few chairs that were blue, that are completely, purple at the moment. We got some Senate chairs in Pennsylvania that are up for grabs. Man, what is your opinion of? Take Seattle for example, up in Washington. Seattle's an absolute dumpster fire. And I'm pretty sure you've been up in that way, right?
Yeah, I'm just north of it.
Yeah. So what's your opinion of Seattle?
Oh man. Well, I know it's a primarily liberal state, like it's mostly blue, and you still got reds and blues all over the place. But like the whole concept of reds and blues, that just drives me nuts because it divides us, and then all the other stuff, abortion or the gender modification, where like oh I'm a he or she, or they like forcing that ideology on people, like it just keeps dividing people, the racism, all this stuff, divide, and we end up fighting amongst ourselves instead of really looking at the real problem of the people that are running the country, running the states, the government, the Congress. Like the fact that Congress can stay in there for as long as they want, and the president gets reelected every 4 years, and after 2 terms he's out for sure no matter what. Like that's kind of nuts to me because like too much power for too long will corrupt basically anybody, and too
And
much
I
that,
completely agree with you, man. I completely agree with you. And I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want to make a. I agree with you, but it's like every every action has a reaction, right? And we are in a pendulum, right? We swing left and then we swing right. We swing left, we swing right. And at the moment we are in that swinging from the left into the right. And I mean, this swing is gonna is gonna be high. And I agree with you that we have these individuals that make a career out of public office, and it's just a mess. I mean, I have no ill against Joe Biden. I root for the guy because honestly, if he fails, our whole entire country fails. But dramatic pause for effect, he is the exact example of what you're talking about. This guy, he's geriatric. He can barely string a sentence together that is comprehensible, and we're just supposed to bow down and listen to everything he says. He said the other day that there's 54 states. Oh my gosh. He says on routine basis that his son Bo died in Iraq. The guy is he's out there, man. Seattle especially, is an interesting place because 2020, what's the mayor in Seattle? What's her name?
The mayor? I'm pretty sure it's a guy.
Is it?
The mayor of Seattle. I'm thinking of the guy that runs Seattle.
Yeah. Anyway, she just let the whole entire city burn. They
yeah,
built.
Oh yeah, that was insane.
That was absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
And now they're 2 years later. Everyone's like, yeah, you know what? Forget about 2020. Just reelect me. It's okay. All that stuff. I don't defund the police. Like, and they just expect us all just to act like it didn't happen. It's absolutely bonkers, insane, man.
Yeah, I'm like I saw a video where I think it was Whoopi Goldberg was trying to put blame on one of the Republican congressmen, or maybe he was a senator, but saying that at least Democrats don't storm the White House. Like, you've heard of Antifa, right? Like, I was in primarily what was the cause of the Seattle riots was because like you had people literally delivering pallets of bricks on street corners randomly throughout the city. So that there's a pile of bricks. Now we have somebody to throw out the windows and just destroy the city. I drove through Seattle after it calmed down and they were trying to clean it up, and it was a disaster. Graffiti, windows shattered, like it was crazy.
Bro, the pallets of bricks wasn't just Seattle. It was across the whole entire United States.
Yeah.
It was downtown Buffalo also.
But it's like, just to say, at least we. Like, there is no we. Like, it's all of us. We are the we. Republicans, Democrats, people in the middle. We're all one. This isn't a divided, it is right now, but it's not supposed to be a divided states of America. It's supposed to be United States of America. And even more so, like, when it comes to racism and stuff like that, like, this country wasn't ours originally. When I say ours, I mean everyone that is immigrated here since 1775 and before that. Like, Native Americans were here before that, and it's sad how much they get disrespected and disregarded as just like people that just take up space, and that's absolutely not true. And they've been put in the place they're at now and have to act the way they do now because of how people treat each other. Same way with blacks and all the other different ethnicities that we have. Like, it's one world. We're on one rock floating through space at tremendous speeds. Why are we fighting amongst each other? Like, it's incredible. And it's and it also comes down to survival. Like, primary instinct is survival. Take care of you first and foremost. So when it comes to dangerous situations, people need to not need to, but stick to themselves, protect their own, and that divides us too. Like, it's just crazy, man. Like,
I think that, and this is once again, this is my opinion, but I'm pretty certain that a lot the majority of the country is pretty much thinks the same way we do. that the one side has entirely too much power, the other side is grappling at entirely too much power, and it all just needs to stop, and we just need to hit a reset button because you guys have taken it completely too far. And then there's a very small majority that are on one side that are extreme and have lost their ever bonking mind, and then there's another side of the extreme that has lost their ever bonking mind. And then you have a media that feeds everything, and they're not feeding it; they're feeding it with gasoline, and it's a fire.
Yep.
And
Fire hydrant.
it's so I touched up on this a little bit yesterday and a little bit in the pre-show, that just like us, we joined the military, and the military took our two emotions. It took the love that we were taught, and it took the hatred that we were taught, and it compressed the love, and it intensified the hatred. And then they said, hey, here you go. try to make it happen. And that's how we deal with our problems. We deal with our problems in a hatred manner, and that's why we beat the ever-loving dog snot. That's why we eat each other, in the Marine Corps. That's what we're taught, because and then we get out of the military, and then we get into the real world, and we just have such a tough time dealing with our problems because we are taught how to deal with our problems with hatred and not compassion and love and empathy. And that same mentality, that same way of thinking has been militarized through our whole entire country. And you could take 2020 for example. 2020, nobody in the mainstream media was focusing on how to fix the problems through love, empathy, and compassion. The mainstream media was using hatred, divisiveness to do exactly what you said, just drive more of a wedge between everybody, and it just turned into an absolute shit show. I hate to curse and swear, but and the sad thing is, and I'm not saying I want this at all, but I'm saying that it has the opportunity, and I'm a very opportunistic person, that come 2024 could be just as bad as 2020, and that scares the loving dog snot out of me, because it has the potential for it, especially with what's going to happen here next week. It's going to be a bloodbath.
I definitely see civil war coming again. Like, that's what scares me the most too. It's like it has to come to violence and killing each other in order to solve problems. Why can't we just sit down and no one's going to agree with someone 100%. That's the whole reason why we have the political parties and the differences. But we got to find the best of both worlds and find what really benefits all of us. There's certain situations, for instance, abortion. I don't like that one person can say, oh, you can't get rid of your baby. It's not your baby to say. You know what I mean? Just because you feel bad for something that hasn't been born yet. If it's your own baby, by all means, if you feel that way, then go ahead. But there was another commercial I saw where this girl walks into an abortion clinic. She's 12, and she goes, I want to adopt a baby. And the lady at the counter is like, yeah, you're way too young. How are you going to support it? How are you going to feed it? How are you going to shelter it? Healthcare, all that. How are you going to do that if you're 12? So then she's all sad and walks out. And then another girl walks in, slightly older and pregnant. And she's like, I need to get an abortion. And it's like, oh, well, that's illegal now. They've closed all abortion clinics down. So you're saying a girl that's 12 can't adopt a child because she wants to and would like to have a baby, but the girl that has a baby that can't afford to take care of it can't get rid of it. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? But that's just one issue. But the issues that we really need to be working on is stuff that really what's the word? Hurts us all or helps us all. The stuff that it touches everyone, not just any individual person. It's not something I'm telling you can and can't do because of my emotional feelings. It's something that needs to happen, the money, infrastructure, defense, helping each other. The FEMA right now is hurting because of, as far as I know, because of the defunding of right. Am I right with that? I'm pretty sure a bunch of stuff's going on and FEMA can't help because there's no money there. And
Well, so what has to happen is there's like 30 bank accounts in the treasury, right? And each one is funneled and managed, a different way. And what they do in the case of FEMA is they have it capped at a certain amount, and people apply to it, just like the VA, right? You apply to the VA and you get a grant or a stipend or something like that. And the FEMA is the same way. And just at the moment, it's just kind of stop loss, like, so nobody can apply to it. But honestly, because people, mayors in 2020 let their cities burn and then applied for FEMA grants when this administration took over, and they were handing out checks left and right. And that's why right now it's like, okay, you know what? We handed out too much money. Our inflation is red hot, and our interest rates are, through the roof. We have to, nobody's handed out anymore. And that's ultimately kind of in a nutshell how it works. But I, I can go on all day about it also. To get back to your point and kind of get a closure on what you're saying. Nobody wants to see a civil war throughout the country.
right.
Nobody does, and it's going to be, when our economy completely crumbles like that, when we've lost control of everything that we've been building towards, it's going to be a sad day. And the only thing that we can do is hope and keep doing what we're supposed to be doing and vote. And that's honestly all we can do. I me and you can talk for hours, man. But unfortunately, my show is only an hour long. So I gotta get your 2 cents on the true meaning of the American flag and the national anthem. What's it mean to you, man?
Oh, I remember singing that every single day when I was in school. I mean, up until I forget when it stopped, because like they I don't think they no longer sing the national or the Pledge of Allegiance in school, and then like the national anthem at games, like it it you would see all these people just kind of doing their own thing, but when the national anthem came up at a football game or a baseball game, everyone was involved, and that's when like you really like felt like this was a United States of America, because everyone knew the words, but did everyone know the meaning, the true meaning of these words? Like the guy that wrote that was under fire when he wrote that, I believe, right? And
Correct. Star
and
Spangled Banner. Yep.
yeah, like just oh,
So I was at a football or a hockey game the other day. I was with Graziano. I don't know if Graz, but anyway, so stand for the national anthem, and we're sitting down, and I say to him, like, man, I always get the tummy tingles whenever I listen to the national anthem. It always it always brings me to a good place. And he said to me, it hits us different, because we've internalized what being an American is. We don't just, it's not just a flag or a monument. It's being an American is it is truly ingrained in every fiber of our body,
right.
And to me, that's what it means. And he's exactly right. We have every ounce of it pumping through our veins at all times. And when we see somebody kneeling, it's a slap in the face, because you're
Yeah,
right. It's the only time we all can be exactly one, and the rich people aren't rich anymore, and the poor people aren't poor anymore, and the white people aren't white anymore, and the black people aren't black anymore. It's the only time we are all dead even, is when we're listening to the national anthem.
yeah. I
And
think
for people,
sorry,
oh
sorry.
no, I was just saying, when people take the platform and and capitalize off of the opposite of what it stands for, you can just shake your head. And the people that support them, like, then you don't even know what it really means.
Yeah, it's
But
not a good time to like trying to voice your opinion on something that you strongly disagree with. However, I understand why they probably do it. Like it's like to disrupt the national anthem or to not stand for the national anthem, like is huge. But that's when they get the most attention. And like I feel like it's come to the point where these like people that are doing these things like really feel like this is the only time that I can get my point across where everyone is going to see me. However, it's like when I hear the national anthem, I start picturing all the people that died fighting for the country. Like the fear and the honor they must have felt at the same time to be battling people that are attacking us or we're defending it like somewhere else. Like that's what goes through my head during the national anthem. And like it almost brings me to tears every time. Like even now, like I'm not in the military anymore, but like I remember when we were in uniform, when the national anthem came on, you're at the position of attention. You know, you don't have your hand on your heart. You're at the position of attention, and that's just how I do it every time. Like it's just ingrained in me. Like if people would really try to act the way we do during the national anthem and take that seriousness throughout their whole lives, not just when we sing that song, not little song, but that song, like it would change the way we work and the way we act towards each other. And
Absolutely, man.
like,
Absolutely.
like they get pissed when they kneel, but why are they not getting pissed because of why they're kneeling? Like, there's a reason they're getting forced into this situation. I definitely don't like agree with anyone using the national anthem to voice their protest. However, I understand it's just the compassion in me, the empathy in me. But
Oh yeah.
like, we need to start paying attention to each other more and hearing like what people are going through no matter what the issue. It's always, oh, me, what I believe, what my emotions. But like, you you are not the country. We are all the country.
Yep.
We just start
We
acting that way.
we got away from doing what's best for 30 million people, and we started doing what's best for just a small, amount of people. And
Yeah,
that's really when we really started to fail, was when you know we stopped doing everything for the mass, and we just started doing the greater things for the majority. And that's when we really started to fail. Man, I got a minute left. Hit me with them for about 15 seconds. Tell me what you learned today.
I've learned that like I can do this too. Like you've motivated me, you inspired me. I'm definitely going to be watching you a lot more, and I can't wait to hear some coaching from you so I can start doing this myself because like we can reach a lot of people and help a lot of people.
Absolutely, we're gonna lean on each other, brother. We're gonna lean on each other. Thanks for coming in, and we're gonna stay in touch. Definitely, I'm a phone call away. Don't ever forget that. And thanks for coming on. Second day of our 11 days for saluting veterans. And we're going to roll right into commercial. Thanks again, Aubrey.
Peace, guys.
Do you find yourself shooting dinosaurs? Do you find yourself in the need to shoot spiders? Let us take care of all your gun, ammunition, and accessory needs. While you're at it, do you have a problem with monsters?
I was not ready for that.
All right. Thanks, Aubrey. Thanks, everyone, for listening, paying attention, following, liking us. Make sure you're subscribing, doing all that crazy stuff. Click like, get involved, get in on the comments. We have cash prizes going out here for the Christmas holiday. Thanks again. We'll catch you tomorrow.